fun, you know?
Okay, Bob, it's yours.
Okay, so fortunately or unfortunately, I'm going to tell you about my first, notice the number, visit to Mexico. So I hope you enjoy it. It was about 20 years ago, and my brother lives in San Diego. And at the time, I had a business trip to San Diego and decided to stay the weekend with my brother. And he said, great, we'll go to Tijuana on Saturday. And I thought, oh, this is great. I've never been to Tijuana. I've never been to Mexico. I grew up on the East Coast in Western New York and Western New York State, and had been to East Coast cities and seen, you know, older cities and towns and that sort of thing, but never to Mexico. So we got up Saturday morning, and he said, we're going to walk across the border at Tijuana, you know, and I said, great. So, you know, I'm going along for the ride. He knew what he was doing. So we drove down to San Ysidro and parked a couple of blocks from the border crossing. Has anybody been to that border? You've been to that border crossing? You guys, probably plenty of people. And parked the car. We walked to the border crossing, and of course, going into Mexico, and I don't know about now, but in those times it was like no problem if you were walking in. You know, they basically didn't care too much, and so we walked across. At that point, had to walk along the river there a little bit, and then once we crossed, it was very interesting because I first noticed that things were a lot more run down and different texture, if you will, visually to what you saw. And we walked because he wanted to go to the one of the shopping areas. So we walked for quite a ways, and as we walked along, I think again, the river there a little bit. And as we were walking, I noticed it, you know, becoming more and more run down. And pretty soon there were a lot of people. We would run into some people that obviously appeared maybe to be homeless or, you know, without any place to live or anything to do other than hold out their hand and ask for money, which I'd never kind of seen that. Even when you go in Seattle, the bums will come and try and get money from you, but I couldn't believe how many people there were that were looking, you know, for some money. And we walked through that area and then into where the shops were, and it was a multi-story building and, you know, many small shops. And then I very quickly realized that the reason my brother wanted to go was that he enjoyed going in and looking at items like Jean has brought and bartering with the merchant. But he had no intention of buying anything. He was just trying to see what would happen. And that's really not the way I am. I can make a deal or, you know, do business and that sort of thing, but it's not a sport for me, but it was a sport for him. So I was a bit taken aback in watching him. But he was very blithe about how he would approach this with the merchants. And so in many cases, as we would walk out of the store, they would come out after us, continuing to try and sell him whatever the item was. So that was one thing that was very new to me, besides having seen definitely a country where people are not as well off as we are here. That was something different, and so from there we went some more streets in Tijuana to get something to eat. And as we did that, I was just taken in by all of the sights and the sounds and people, and of course, you know, just the experience. It was, you knew you were in a different place, and that was really the first time for me. I had traveled to Europe and into Canada many times, but never to a country where things are not as well off, if you will, as we are here. So that was my experience, and we walked back, and it was pretty uneventful, but it was quite a day, and made quite an impression on me after that first visit. So that is my story.